TCU lands maybe their biggest commitment yet in the 2025 class. Four-star corner Micah Strickland picks the Frogs. We'll talk about what Sonny Dykes has been doing on the recruiting trail and how he's really transformed this roster after a disappointing season. All that and more coming up next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platform. Nothing is guaranteed. And after last offseason, you might not want to hear a lot of my optimism because I was super optimistic coming off an incredible year where TCU made the playoff. And I thought they would once again be really good. Didn't know if they would be a Big 12 championship team, but I thought they would definitely be in the mix. And then as we saw, things unraveled. But I will say this. The response by Sonny Dykes and his coaching staff has been outstanding. And games aren't won on paper. You have to execute on the field. There's still a lot of questions to be asked. But by and large, I feel like they've addressed a lot of the needs that they had in the transfer portal, the immediate needs. They've tried to shore up this offensive line by going and adding guys like Bless Harris, Cade Bennett, Carson Bruno, and others. They went and got a quarterback in Ken Seals, who presumably will back up Josh Hoover and could be a good option if something happens to Josh and he needs to step in and play for a few games or possibly more. They went and got a game-breaking wide receiver in Eric McAllister. They brought in Andy Avalos to spice up this defense and change the scheme, be more aggressive, get more edge rusher types, have more pressure on the quarterback. And another thing they've done this offseason, particularly this summer, and really especially in the month of June, is they've done a great job on the high school recruiting trail, landing prospects for the 2025 class. They are now up to 21 commits. They stand at 14th in the nation, according to 247 Sports. And on Friday, they landed arguably the biggest name in this class, one of the highest rated recruits that they've had committed so far, and Micah Strickland, a cornerback from Brownsboro, plays for Brownsboro High School, a four-star player, both on 247 and in all the other ranking services. Over 6 feet tall, fantastic athlete, and the guy that looks like your prototypical lockdown corner. Stands at 6 feet tall, 175 pounds, is coming off a junior season at Brownsboro where he was fantastic. Also plays basketball and runs track, and when you turn on the film, you immediately see the athleticism. One thing that Gabe Brooks, a scout for 247 Sports, mentioned is the wingspan, the length, and how that shrinks catch windows. It really takes down the catch radius for these wide receivers, because if he's on you, then he can reach over and break up the ball and make life tough with that 6'6" wingspan that he possesses. Really good coverage skills, looks very fluid, coming in and out of his breaks, moving his hips, getting down the football field, running stride for stride with wide receivers, going up and getting the ball, good ball skills. You saw a few interceptions on his huddle tape from his junior season, whether he's undercutting a route and taking it right from the wide receiver or going up and getting the ball at the point of attack at the high point. Impressive stuff. And you also see there's clips where he's running across the field, making tackles, running down a running back for Carthage, who looked like Carthage, one of the best, 4A programs in the state. Looked like he was about to break out and run for a touchdown, and Micah Strickland runs him down. Just that athletic ability to go finish a play is something that you can't teach. Physical when he needs to be. Definitely looked like somebody who wasn't afraid to come up and make a play at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack. A sure tackler. And they also had him at running back at times and the return game as well. He's one of your prototypical 4A athletes who's clearly just like, that guy is the best dude on the field, and we're going to find a way to get the ball in his hands. He picked TCU over a really good list of schools. He had a super impressive offer list, including Baylor, Michigan, Nebraska, Texas Tech, and many others. And TCU wins this battle. Houston was involved as well. Oregon State. There are a bunch of schools that wanted Micah Strickland to be a part of their 2025 class, and TCU, at least for now, has that verbal commitment. I think this summer has shown us a couple things. One is that it appears there's just a renewed sense of urgency with this coaching staff. Sonny Dykes has talked about this a few times over the offseason. That was a really long year that they went through in year one, and I would imagine for a lot of those coaches coming in, trying to build a new program, they had been working day and night for a long time. They took some time off. They got back. They had to hire Kendall Browse as new offense coordinator. Got a little behind the eight ball from a preparation standpoint, and the product on the field suffered. You didn't see that attention to detail that you saw in year one. Also, just at some key positions, maybe they weren't as talented or as good as they thought they could be going into the season. The other thing I think this shows with guys like Micah Strickland, and it's really awesome that your two highest rated commits right now for Sonny Dykes, who's a guy that is known to bring in great offensive players and develop skill talent, and do great things. And Ty Hawkins is up there from a rankings perspective as well, the QB from San Antonio. But Micah Strickland and Chad Woodfork, your two highest ranked commits at the moment, both defensive players. Chad Woodfork fits that need that you have for an edge rusher, and they brought in a couple of those guys in this class so far. And then Micah Strickland as a lockdown corner who can play on an island and handle his business one-on-one and allow you to bring blitzes and be more aggressive on the defense because you feel comfortable with that dude taking away half the field or taking away the best receiver on someone else's roster. So that's awesome. Andy Avalos has brought in a renewed energy and spirit to this defense. And I don't think, even though last season from an efficiency standpoint, things weren't clicking on all cylinders, I feel like Sonny Dykes is going to figure out the offensive side of the ball more times than not. Defensively, though, if you can also be consistent and get stops and force turnovers, that's a huge plus for your football team. The Flying T Club, and I feel like it's taken a little bit of time, and there's also been rumblings about, okay, what's TCU's philosophy when it comes to NIL? How are they going to approach it? Are they going to give the majority of their funds and allocate a lot of the resources to transfer portal players, to retaining current players? And that's been sort of the word out of people in the know around TCU, is that's how Sonny's approached it. But whether it's a change in philosophy or just more robust spending across the board, it definitely feels like the Flying T Club is more competitive than it's been in years past from a high school recruiting standpoint. I think you got to credit John Denton with that, who sort of took over as the guy leading the charge in a lot of ways and making it more organized and making it more seamless. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that have worked on this, and I know the athletic department has been involved as well. But the type of talent TCU is bringing in is really promising when we look ahead to this 2025 season. State 7-on-7 was also going on this weekend, and I saw, I believe it's Hudson Standish, from 247, said if he had to name an alpha dog or an MVP from this event, Ed Small would have his vote. Ed Small is a 2025 wide receiver from Austin Anderson, and he is also a TCU commit. Whether it was a short pass, intermediate, or deep, the level did not matter. Small made plays everywhere during Austin Anderson's run to a Division I state runner-up finish. He showed big play juice with the ability to get open anywhere. He's built like a running back and is especially a tough cover in a 7-on-7 setting because he can use his body to box out defenders or simply out-muscle them for contested throws. Small in his high school career has had over 2,300 receiving yards and 34 touchdowns across the past two campaigns. Ed Small was one of their first commits for this class, and I've heard nothing but good things about him. He's just somebody that gets open, produces, and gets it done. And he's going into a senior season and should be a big part of what TCU is doing moving forward. So, big-time wide receiver, whether it's quarterback, they've really focused on the defensive side of the ball, especially that linebacker position, and now a corner in Micah Strickland. And another battle that they have won, I mean, there were a lot of offers, but Houston was involved. Texas Tech was involved again. They've had a really good summer against Tech in these sort of mano-a-mano recruiting battles, which is super promising because that's one of those schools along with Colorado. And we'll see what Arizona State ends up doing and kind of UCF. Those are kind of some other interesting names to watch. But when it comes to recruiting from a Stars perspective in the new Big 12, I think those are the schools that can keep up with the resources and just the location and proximity to talent that TCU has moving forward. In Colorado, a lot of that's predicated on Dion. Of course, he is really focused so far on the transfer portal. But I think, as if he ends up staying around for a while, he will eventually try to continue to build this thing through the high school ranks as well. He'll have to at some point if he's going to continue to field competitive rosters over the years. But another big recruiting win for Sonny Dykes and his coaching staff, landing Micah Strickland, 4-star corner from Brownsboro High School. And now the challenge is going to be keeping him in the fold. And I hate to immediately pivot to that, but, he's a big name. He's going to have an outstanding senior year playing football. And a lot of people are going to be involved in that because that's one of the prime positions now in football. You got to have a great QB. You got to have guys that can rush the passer. You have to protect the quarterback. You have to be able to cover people because teams are throwing the ball over the yard. So excited to see what Micah Strickland can do in the coming years when he puts on a TCU uniform. And as Jeremy Clark from 247 Sports, Horned Frog Blitz pointed out, just an incredible month of June for TCU football, landing 10 players and some big names as well. So exciting stuff from this coaching staff. And things will sort of quiet down now as they transition to July. Still the potential of more commits, but a lot of the the official visits, a lot of the bells and whistles that come with recruiting this time of year are winding down as players get ready for their senior season in high school football. When we come back, TCU announced their media day representatives, and I think one of those reps is a good window into what TCU football is going to look like this year. I'll explain next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. FanDuel, it might be summertime, and you say to yourself, Steven, there's nothing going on right now. Sports is in the deadest period of the year. It's just MLB baseball. Well, listen, don't get so locked up in that. It's a great time to try FanDuel. You love sports, and you love them so much you never want them to stop. Playoffs have wound down. There's fewer games. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon to start making the most out of your summer. Again, that's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official betting partner of Major League Baseball. All customers get daily boost or bonuses, something for everyone every day all summer long. FanDuel.com/lockedon, or the FanDuel app is really safe and easy to use. FanDuel, official betting partner of Major League Baseball. So I'm pretty bummed. I got to go to Big 12 Media Days last year. I was there covering it. I don't think I'm going to make the trip to Vegas this year. That's where it is as it comes up here in the next few weeks. And actually 8 days from now, July 9th in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Representing the Frogs, Jack Besh, wide receiver. Quarterback Josh Hoover, offensive lineman Mike Nichols, linebacker Namdio Bizor, and defensive lineman Caleb Fox. So kind of an interesting list of names here. And I assume these are probably just the captains. Namdio Bizor makes a ton of sense. He led the team in tackles last year. He's going to be a big part of this defense this upcoming season. And I think he'll be one of those guys that really benefits from the change in scheme and in defensive philosophy. Jack Besh is a good name to know. And Sonny Dykes said during spring camp, he said Jack Besh was the MVP of spring camp. He came over from LSU as a freshman All-American. Things didn't really pan out last year. He dealt with injuries. He was banged up. You saw the vision at times. They can line him up in a lot of different ways, at slot receiver, at tight end, as an H-back. But if Jack Besh is healthy, then I think they're going to find some super creative ways to move him around the formation. get him some favorable matchups. And he's sort of an under-the-radar name that I don't think a lot of people are considering when they talk about offensive playmakers. Tanner McKinney asked me the other day, he said, who are going to be the breakout players on offense and defense? And I didn't really prepare a full segment for that today, but Jack Bech will be a good candidate for the offense because I'm not sure that everybody has him immediately on their radar, but he's a dude. And if he's fully healthy and he's ready to go all season long, then I think he could be a force within this offense. But the name I'm most excited to see, because I feel like it gives us a good window into what TCU football is going to be this upcoming season. Josh Hoover is going to be there in 8 days at Allegiant Stadium. 7 days probably, because I'm going to post this on Tuesday. And if Josh wasn't fully healthy, I don't think they would send him out there because, I mean, it's a no-brainer. The first or second question that he's going to be asked is, where are you at with your rehab, right? He had surgery. He missed all of spring camp. They're going through some official offseason workouts right now. They're not really going through any official football drills, doing some 7-on-7 work. But where is he at? What's his health like? And for those of you that may wonder, I think there's two fashions of TCU fans right now on the Josh Hoover situation. Well, there's more than that, but I guess when it pertains to his injury, there's a group of people that believe he's just not going to be healthy, which there's really no evidence to that. I just feel like we're at that point in the summer where everybody sort of freaks out. Or he's not going to get enough reps in that he'll be ready for the upcoming season. But to dispel that notion, I don't think they'd be running him out there if they had uncertainty about where he was, because there's no reason to throw him down, take him up there and put him in front of the media if you don't think he's going to be your starting quarterback this upcoming year. So I think that's a really good sign. And I'm excited about what Josh can do in year 2 in this offense. And he's going to get a chance. We talk a lot about Haas Haney and Ty Hawkins, and justifiably so. I think Haas Haney is an incredible athlete. I would love to see him get involved in the offense a little bit this year. I think redshirting players at this point in the game in college football is very silly. If the guy can play, let him play. I'm super excited about Ty Hawkins, even though that's, down the road. Still got to get him signed and all that. But Josh Hoover has a chance to, cement himself as the starting quarterback for a while, right? Like, he has a say in this if he can play well, if he can be productive. And that starts with him being healthy and available to play for TCU this upcoming season. And then Mike Nichols and Caleb Fox, those are just upperclassmen linemen. But I think Mike Nichols being there could tell you that he's possibly the other tackle on the other side of Bless Harris. And that's a huge question mark going into the season. What does this O-line look like? Can they hold up week in and week out? And I think on the interior offensive line, they're pretty set and they're pretty solid. But, those tackles that are protecting Josh Hoover on the edge, that's going to be a huge deal. And Mike Nichols has battled injuries. He's dealt with a lot through his career. But, again, hopeful that he's healthy, that he can take a step forward and then get the job done. So, your Big 12 Media Day representatives, Jack Bech, Josh Hoover, Mike Nichols, Nnamdi Obaizor, and Caleb Fox. And I'm also excited to hear from Sonny. We've heard from him a few times this offseason. He was super optimistic last year. I drank the Kool-Aid after media days. Or he said a lot, but one of the things he said was that he felt like this team, that team was going to be deeper and more talented than the team in 2022, which didn't end up being the case. But he was super excited about that roster and how they constructed it. And I think he's got reasons to be optimistic now, but I'm just curious to see what his tone is after, what happened last season. So that'll be a fascinating thing to watch. But, it should be fun to see where TCU lands and kind of where they fall when it all is said and done. And I'm excited to hear what those guys have to say. We don't get to hear a lot from, the players themselves. So exciting stuff as media days approaches. We'll come back and wrap things up with some TCU baseball talk. We'll do that next. You're in Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. So TCU baseball, they've been trying to, add some talent. It's been pretty quiet off season so far, but they did land a commitment from Tommy Lepore over the weekend, pitcher from Wichita State. And many people have pointed out, if that sounds familiar, a tall, big pitcher from Wichita State, Peyton Tole, who was Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, came over from the Shockers this past offseason. And Lepore was on the all-freshman team in the American Conference, had a 6-3 record with a 4.25 ERA with 78 innings pitched, 6'4", 230. So big kid from Blue Springs, Missouri. He struck out 69 batters, had 37 walks, held opponents to a 225 batting average. He was the AAC Newcomer Pitcher of the Year, and he made 16 appearances for the Shockers this past season. So a guy that can come in and immediately be a piece of your rotation. And Peyton Tole did a fantastic job last year, really settled in once they kind of got him out of the lineup into a place where he could just focus on pitching. So trying to replicate that with Tommy Lepore, who also comes from Wichita State. Jack Bell from Texas A&M, he announced his pledge to the Horned Frogs on social media. He was a freshman last year and appeared in 19 games with the Aggies. So limited action, went 4 of 16 with 7 runs scored, 1 double and 1 home run, 4 RBIs, drew 8 walks. So that's the third infielder they've added, along with Cole Kramer from Washington State, and also landed Colton Griffin from Stephen F. Austin. But Jack Bell was really highly recruited out of high school, was a big name. Jim Schlossnagel took him out of high school at Texas A&M, and then I guess they didn't have plans to move on with him when that staff came over to Austin. So TCU baseball picks him up. Seems like a kid with a lot of upside and just a ton of potential. So quietly, I think Kirk Sarloos is doing a nice job. And, I mean, if you missed this, TJ Bruce, hitting coach, took the job at Long Beach State, head coaching job. So they ended up hiring Bill Mosiello, who was there for a long time, went to Ohio State, and now he comes back. So some moving and shaking happened with TCU baseball after a disappointing 2023 campaign that ended in, not a postseason appearance. So hopefully they can rectify that this upcoming season and get to a place where they're making the NCAA tournament and, going beyond, pushing for Omaha again this upcoming year. We'll be back either tomorrow or Thursday. We'll definitely do 3 episodes this week. Not sure exactly what the schedule's going to look like, but thank you for joining me today. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team. We do it here every day.